Welcome to Neural Nexus Podcast, where we explore the hottest topics shaping the world. Let's dive in.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be looking into something that's making headlines: a massive donut recall. Yeah. So picture this: you're reaching for a sweet treat, but then you find out it could be contaminated. That's the reality for a lot of folks right now. Over 2 million cases of donuts from FGF Brands were pulled from shelves across the U.S. and Canada. We're talking Doughnuts, Fritters, Petruskis, the whole works.
What's interesting here is that the FDA has classified this as a Class 2 recall, their second highest level due to potential Listeria contamination.
Now, you're probably familiar with Listeria.
Yeah.
But it's worth remembering how dangerous it can be, especially for pregnant women and their newborns, older adults, and anyone with a weakened immune system. The CDC reports about 1,600 cases of Listeria infection each year, unfortunately leading to around 260 deaths. Those numbers are pretty alarming. It makes you wonder if enough is being done to protect consumers.
Yeah, these statistics highlight that food safety is an ongoing challenge. Even in a modern society with rigorous standards, seemingly harmless treats can harbor serious risks. This raises an important question. What more can be done to prevent contamination at the source?
That's a really good point. So this Class 2 recall means there's a real chance someone could get sick from eating these donuts, but serious or long-term effects are less likely. Still, caution is key, especially for those vulnerable groups we just talked about. This might all feel a bit abstract, but the threat is real. Remember that Listeria outbreak back in 2024 linked to deli meat. It tragically resulted in 9 deaths and many hospitalizations.
Yeah, that event was a stark reminder of the very real dangers associated with Listeria contamination. And it underscores the importance of taking food safety seriously. It's not just about avoiding certain foods altogether, but approaching them with a heightened sense of awareness.
Okay, that's reassuring. But it still feels unsettling that potentially contaminated food made it to store shelves. What safeguards failed here? What do we know about FGF Brands' safety record? Have they had issues before? This helps us understand if this is an isolated incident or a pattern.
That's a great question. While we don't have specific details on their entire track record right now, this recall definitely raises concerns. It points to potential lapses in their safety protocols. Whether it's during ingredient sourcing, processing, or even transportation, this recall highlights the complex web of factors involved in food safety and how a breakdown at any point can have widespread consequences.
I see what you mean. So this recall doesn't mean we have to give up donuts forever, but it's a wake-up call. What practical steps do you take to minimize the risk of foodborne illness? This whole situation has me rethinking my own food habits.
For me, it's all about informed decision-making. Staying updated on food safety news and recalls is key. And I'm always mindful of where I'm purchasing food from. For example, I tend to favor brands and stores known for their stringent safety practices. It's also about prioritizing basic hygiene in the kitchen. Always washing hands thoroughly before and after handling food, especially raw ingredients, is crucial.
Right. Those basic steps are so important. It's easy to forget about them in the hustle and bustle of daily life. But this is a good reminder. Speaking of kitchen mishaps, I once tried to make homemade donuts and ended up with a giant greasy mess. Let's just say I'll be sticking to store-bought from now on. But back to the serious stuff. What about washing fruits and vegetables? Any specific advice there?
Absolutely. Washing produce is essential. Even if you plan to peel it, a good scrub under running water can remove surface contaminants. Using a vegetable brush can be even more effective, especially for items with rough textures. And remember, no need for fancy soaps or washes. Plain water does the job just fine.
That's a relief to hear. Sometimes those extra steps can feel overwhelming. But speaking of feeling overwhelmed, some folks might be wondering what to do if they've already eaten some of these recalled donuts. Should they be worried?
That's a valid concern. If anyone has consumed any of these products and is experiencing symptoms like fever, muscle aches, nausea, or diarrhea, it's crucial to contact a healthcare provider immediately. These could be signs of listeriosis.
That makes sense. It's always better to err on the side of caution. So what about folks who have these recalled donuts sitting in their pantry? What should they do?
First and foremost, check the FDA website for a detailed list of the recalled products, including brand names and best-by dates. Don't assume you're in the clear just because you bought a similar product. Match the information carefully. And if you do have any of the recalled items, the safest course of action is to discard them immediately.
Definitely. It's not worth the risk. And, this whole recall brings up a bigger question for me. How do we as consumers advocate for better food safety practices?
That's a really important question. I think awareness is the first step. Being informed about recalls, understanding potential risks, and being vocal about our expectations for safe food are all crucial. Supporting organizations that advocate for stricter food safety regulations can also make a difference.
I hadn't thought about it that way,
Yeah.
but you're absolutely right. We can all play a role in pushing for safer food systems.
Exactly. It's a shared responsibility between consumers, producers, and regulators. And transparency from companies is key as well. Being open about their safety practices, responding promptly to concerns, and taking swift action when issues arise can help build trust and prevent future problems.
Transparency is so important. It allows consumers to make informed decisions about the products they're buying. But ultimately, this recall underscores the importance of being vigilant about food safety, even when it comes to something as seemingly harmless as a donut. It makes you realize that food safety is something we need to be thinking about constantly.
It's definitely a reminder that we can't be complacent. While we enjoy those moments of sweetness, we must also be aware of the potential risks and take steps to protect ourselves.
This whole conversation has been really eye-opening. It's easy to take food safety for granted, but this recall really drives home the point that we all need to be more aware.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good reminder that food safety is a shared responsibility. We rely on companies to uphold high standards, and we need to stay informed and make responsible choices as consumers.
Absolutely. So for our listeners who might be feeling a bit overwhelmed by all this information, what's one key takeaway they should remember?
I think the most important thing is to stay informed. Keep up with food safety news, pay attention to recalls, and be aware of potential risks associated with different foods. Knowledge is power when it comes to protecting ourselves.
That's great advice. And even though we've been talking about a serious topic, I don't want our listeners to walk away feeling like they can never enjoy a donut again.
Definitely not. Enjoy those treats, but do so responsibly. Stay informed, practice good hygiene. And if you're ever unsure about something, don't hesitate to ask questions or seek guidance from reliable sources like the FDA or CDC.
Well said. So to wrap things up, what are some resources our listeners can check out to stay up to date on food safety?
The FDA and CDC websites are excellent resources for information on recalls, foodborne illnesses, and safe food handling practices. They provide clear and concise guidance that everyone can understand.
Perfect. We'll be sure to include links to those resources in our show notes. And with that, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the donut recall. We hope this episode has been informative and empowering for you all.
Remember, knowledge is power. When it comes to food safety, being informed can make all the difference.
Stay curious, stay vigilant, and keep enjoying those donuts responsibly. Until next time, everyone.